Welcome back, High Floor Heroes. This is Chad, and this is the High Floor Fantasy Show. Like, comment, subscribe, click on the notification bell. Do me a favor, please don't smash anything. I abhor violence, so just click on it. And when you're done here, go support me on Patreon. Just search for High Floor Fantasy. It's time for the running back show. We're going to look at the Week 2 running backs, floor ratings. Number 1. Now, this sounds like this is kind of Groundhog Day. Christian McCaffrey at number 1 with a floor rating of 100. Standard deviation of 2.12. Very consistent. Take a quick look at his numbers. 24 carries, 72 yards, 3 yards a carry average, 1 touchdown. He's a stud. Let's move on to number 2. Nick Chubb. How about that? How about Cleveland? Baker Mayfield coming up. Nick Chubb coming up. Floor rating of 71.35. Standard deviation of 4.45. It was a little below the average, so he is fairly consistent. And let's check out his production. 11 carries for 95 yards. An average of whopping 8.6 yards per carry. That's freaking awesome. 1 reception, 1 TD. Once again, a stud. I guess he's becoming the clear number 1 in that backfield. Moving on, number 3, Derrick Henry. Surprised to see, well, I'm not surprised to see him. You know, we're going to see where these guys sort out. Henry, Dalvin Cook, who else we got? McCaffrey, all up in the top 5 right now. Derrick Henry, 71.3 floor rating. Okay, now here's a big problem with Derrick Henry this week. Standard deviation 26.16. He wildly inconsistent. There's over a 35-point swing in his fantasy point production between weeks 1 and 2. Definitely can't have that. 35 carries for 182 yards. I haven't done the math yet. Would that be on pace for another 2,000-yard season? That's not sustainable. 3 touchdowns, obviously. That's why he shot the lights out. I do have him on one team. Everything about that offense is looking good. If you listen to the quarterback show, Tannehill had such a great week. So the receiving game is on. The running game is on. Lots to like in Tennessee. Number 4, Dalvin Cook. I also have him. I got him in my money league, my league of record, I guess you might call it. Floor rating of 70.02. Very consistent at 3.25 standard deviation. Let's see, what's the difference there? Yeah, less than 5-point difference between week 1 and week 2 for fantasy points for him. 22 carries for 131 yards, 6 yards a carry. No touchdowns, 2 receptions for 17 yards. And fairly consistent performer. I'm excited about Minnesota, excuse me. The Irv Smith thing was terrible, but Cousins is doing great with Thielen. And I have some shares of all these guys, so keep an eye on Minnesota. Number 5, Darrell Henderson, LA Rams, coming in with a floor rating of 63.24. Very nice standard deviation, the lowest we've seen yet in the top 10. 1.06, less than 2 points difference. He's not scoring a lot of points. He's been under 7. He's been under 18 points both weeks, but that kind of consistency is definitely something you look for. 13 carries for 53 yards, 3 receptions for 29 yards, 1 touchdown. 1 rushing touchdown. No receiving touchdowns, but this whole offense is going to be on fire. Since the Akers injury, Henderson is, he's stepping up. He's going to be the number 1. I've been high on the whole LA Rams offense since March. Stafford since March for sure. The only thing I'm concerned about would be the wide receiver situation there. I picked Robert Woods, and looks like Cooper Kupp is getting all the love. So I know it's early in the season. We'll have to see how all this sorts out. Okay, having a look at number 6, DeAndre Swift of Detroit. 56.52 floor rating. Not so consistent. 8.91 standard deviation. Yeah, so there's a big 13-point difference between week 1 and week 2. Yeah, he's definitely not the most consistent one of the bunch here. Let's take a look at his numbers. 39 rushing yards, 8 receptions for 65 receiving yards, and a receiving TD. Detroit is an interesting case this year. Goff is doing his thing. I like Hockenson, DeAndre Swift. Maybe those are the two go-to guys. I think in some of these situations, it might just be better to own. No, I'm not going to say the quarterback. In this situation, my favorite guy on this whole offense is definitely T.J. Hockenson, and I haven't been big on Detroit all year. Let's move on. Number 7, Chris Carson, Seattle. What can you say about that offense? Russ Wilson, man, he's who's the receiver? Tyler Lockett. I picked DK Metcalf. I feel like in a lot of these leagues, I might have picked the wrong guy. But Chris Carson comes in at number 7 with a floor rating of 55.26 and a standard deviation of 0.99, less than 1. So let's see. Yep, less than 2-point difference in his fantasy point scores between week 1 and 2. 91 rushing yards. He did have a fumble. 26 receiving yards on 3 receptions. Seattle offense is good. Oh, well, they're not good. Russ, I think the biggest thing in this situation, I think the quarterback is the way to go here. Just, if you got Russell Wilson, he's going to spread it around. Looks like he's given most of the love to Lockett so far, but great offense. Chris Carson at number 7. Number 8, Austin Eckler, 54.72 floor rating, standard deviation of 7.64, above the average, which is bad, and 11-point difference in fantasy point difference between week 1 and week 2. 57 rushing yards, 1 rushing touchdown, 3 yards, and again, yeah, he had a pretty big swing there. The offense is fantastic. Mike Williams is coming on in the receiving core. Herbert, he's moving up. It's an offense to keep an eye on. Number 9, James White, New England, coming in with a floor rating of 52.85, standard deviation of 4.53. I'm not interested at all in New England this year. 12 rushing yards, 49 receiving yards for 6 receptions. 12 rushing yards. Come on. How was he at number 9? Let me look at these numbers here and figure out. He's got a fairly high. Well, no, his ceiling's not that high. His floor is fairly high. And his consistency is, again, it was 4.53 on standard deviation, which is lower than average, which that's a good thing for standard deviation. I really don't have much of an analysis for him. Stay away. Number 10, Chase Edmonds, Arizona, 51.06. Fantastic standard deviation, 1.48. Very consistent. Only about 2 points difference between week 1 and week 2. This offense, Kyler Murray, number 1 quarterback 2 weeks in a row. I think in this offense, this is another example where it's just best if you have the quarterback. If you got Murray, snagged him in the early rounds, all of these guys are contributing to his production. So in that situation, Murray's the one you want on the Arizona offense. Okay, I'm going to take a quick break and come back and cover running backs 11 through 15, but you got to be on Patreon for that. Like, comment, subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Click the notification bell. Please don't smash anything. I abhor violence. And go support me on Patreon. I've certainly made it affordable, and you get lots of great information over there. I appreciate you listening.